from the prophet Micah, chapter 6. Here the Lord says, "Rise, plead your case before the mountains, and let the hills hear your voice. Hear, you mountains, the controversy of the Lord, and you enduring foundations of the earth. For the Lord has a controversy with his people, and he will contend with Israel. O my people, what have I done to you? In what have I wearied you? Answer me, for I brought you up from the land of Egypt, and I redeemed you from the house of slavery. And I sent before you Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. O my people, remember what King Balak of Moab devised, what Balaam son of Beor answered him, and what happened from Shittal to Gilgal? All that you may know the saving acts of the Lord. With what shall I come before the Lord then? And how shall I bow myself before God on high? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body, for the sin of my soul? He has told you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. The voice of the Lord cries to the city. It is sound wisdom to fear your name. Hear, O tribe and assembly of the city. Can I forget the treasures of wickedness in the house of the wicked, and the scant measure that is accursed? Can I tolerate wicked scales and a bag of dishonest weights? Your wealthy are full of violence. Your inhabitants speak lies, with tongues of deceit in their mouths. Therefore, I have begun to strike you down, making you desolate because of your sin. You shall eat, but not be satisfied. And there shall be a gnawing hunger within you, and you shall put away, but not save. And what you save, I will hand over to the sword. You shall sow, but not reap. You shall tread olives, but not anoint yourself with oil. You shall tread grapes, but not drink wine. For you have kept the statutes of Omri and all the works of the house of Ahab, and you have followed their counsels. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
My parents had zero money for me to attend college. We were the kind of family that was just fortunate to hang on to our house. So it is quite amazing that I got through college with relatively less college loans than the average person. And this happened because I talked to a lot of smart people. And I tried to figure out all of the requirements needed to fill out all the forms, the scholarships, the low-interest loans, and discover the loopholes that might impede a healthy financial reward. For example, I asked so many questions about the financial aid requirements that I discovered that the due date advised way back then was when the last applications could be submitted for consideration, but the monetary awards started 2 months prior and were given so at a much more generous rate. So this meant that the earlier I would apply, the better chances I had to be offered more. I learned that I could also qualify for a if I had been a resident for at least 2 years. So doing the math, I became a resident of 10C during my freshman year, which made my junior and senior year open to additional scholarships. I got so good at figuring out the requirements and seeing where I could fit into them that the head of the financial aid office offered me a student job. And I turned him down because the only thing I wanted to do with financial aid was parse out all the requirements and move on with life. Because in some ways it kind of felt like a game to me, doing whatever I could to get the most benefit. And even with all this, it still took me years to pay off my student loans. And in today's passage from Micah 6, in verse 11, we hear about a people who have a society set up for the appearances of economic fairness. They have all the scales and the measurements in place to make it seem organized, helpful, beneficial. If they went to the market for food, they got their goods weighed, they paid, and life goes on. But behind the facade, there's nothing but a disease of corruption. Chapter 6 tells us that the scales used in the markets are fixed to benefit the wealthy. The weights used ensure they pay a higher price than they should. Was that bag of apples $3 last week? Whoa. I don't know what to tell you, there's 6 this week. It's an economy of deceit. And Scripture tells us that the wealthy here are violent to ensure that they get theirs. And everyone else knows what's really going on in the fixed system, so tries to utilize deceit and lies if it can benefit them in some way. Survival of the fittest. He who dies with the most toys wins. I mean, it's not my fault if someone doesn't work as hard as me. I earn mine. I picked myself up by my bootstraps. Nobody helped me. The people of Micah 6:16 are even prepared with an excuse. They're all just doing what's required. They keep the statutes of Omri, and they continue to execute the prescriptions of Ahab. They're doing what they were told to do, and they're playing by the rules that they were given. I mean, hey, isn't life so busy that we can only do so much? Sounds familiar to me. How about you? We live in a nation where the top 1% of the wealthiest population owns 40% of the wealth. And how can that be? Well, here's an example from 2017 when Toys R Us filed for bankruptcy, but still managed to give its small handful of executives $8.2 million in bonuses before the doors closed. And they paid $100 million in fees to their equity sponsors for advisory purposes. And yet over 30,000 former employees have fought in the courts for 2 years to get any kind of severance pay. And a couple of months ago, the courts finally granted what amounts to $60 a person. And that's if you are full-time. If you were full-time. We also live in a country where the CEO in the US is paid 271 times the average worker. The CEO compensation has grown 940% since 1978. But I mean, don't we have to pay to get the best talent? Minimum wage started in 1938 under FDR, and Congress has raised it 22 times, and it is now at a whopping $7.25. I mean, don't we have to pay to get the best talent? The average student debt in the US is nearly $33,000. That's a 302 increase in student loan debt since 2004 alone. And the average monthly repayment of a student loan is about $350 a month. but that translates into 48 hours of minimum wage work, not including the groceries or shelter. The average cost of childcare in the U.S. is $10,000 to $15,000 a kid. Abe and I can testify to that most personally. Beth Perkins is a mom with 2 little kids in Mississippi. She teaches the 6th grade. She has earned her bachelor's degree and her master's degree, and is a top-tier teacher, winning many awards for her amazing talents. So if I look at her budget, she pays about $9,000 a year for her toddler, $10,000 a year for her infant, $40,000 a year for her, $4,000 a year for student loans, $4,000 for maybe a car payment, $10,000 for rent. So far that makes about $37,000 in expenses, and we have not started to total taxes, utility, clothes, food, medical bills, or car insurance. It's really too bad that the average K-12 teacher in Mississippi makes $45,000 a year. And she is feeling trapped and hard-pressed on how to make ends meet. Did I also mention that Dabo Sweeney, who holds a master's in business and is the coach for the Clemson Tigers, makes $9.3 million a year? I mean, don't you have to pay to get the best talent? The response of humanity is all too often survival of the fittest. It's not my fault if others don't work as hard as me. I've earned mine. I've picked myself up by my bootstraps. No one helped me. We hear this again and again. The excuse is we're all just doing what's required. We keep the statutes of U.S. law, and we continue to execute the prescriptions of best business practices. We're doing what we were told to do. We're playing by the rules we've been given. Life is just so busy. I mean, there's only so much we can do. And with such excuses in Micah, we hear that God is mad. And God is brokenhearted. God is asking, pleading with God's people in a trial-like setting. What more do I have to do to get you to be in real relationship? God lists God's timeless love and support, with nature serving as God's timeless witness. God has tried prophets, priests, women, Gentiles, freedom from slavery, on and on and on. Nothing. Nothing has worked. God pleads, what more would it take? And the response of God's people in Micah 6 is this: what? You want me to give more burnt offerings? How about a baby calf? How about 3,000 rams? 20,000 barrels of oil? How about my firstborn from the body, from my body, for the sin of my soul? The response in Micah is not silent conviction or repentance or regret or not even self-examination. It's a haughty rebuttal, as if God is asking for too much. The people focus on an increase of transactions to appease God. The people basically respond, fine, I've done wrong, so what's my sentence? And in that moment, I imagine God looking at those God loves so much, breaking from anger and moving into this empathetic calm. The courtroom drama fades away, and lovingly, God looks at God's beloved and says, no, nothing so crazy like child sacrifice. Nothing like that. It's so simple, it's so profound. It always has been. What do I require? To do justice, and to walk humbly with your God. Let's examine this good news shared here in this passage and explore a little bit of the Hebrew language. Translations into English so often lost. In Hebrew, the word require is darash. I want you to imagine require as those warm, tender kisses, that gentle touch and affection from a parent. That's what children require. Imagine how flowers require the sun and the rain in order to flourish. God requires this from us, and we need this from God. God yearns for, God requires relationship. Nothing more, based on steadfast love. And in Hebrew, the word for justice is mishpat. And it's the kind of justice that works for fairness and equity. There are a couple of different kinds of justice in the Hebrew Bible. Scholar G.W. Anderson explains mishpat, or justice, very well. He said, mishpat is a comprehensive term for the conditions of the covenant, the way of life that it embodies. When people so act, the life of the community is maintained in vigor and well-being, and the needy and the defenseless are cared for. When people disregard this way of life, they infringe the covenant. And in Hebrew, the word for kindness is hesed, which is most acutely defined as love, loyalty, faithfulness. The phrase for love here is ahab, which is faithfulness to a covenant partner without resentment and free from manipulation and coercion. And to walk humbly in Hebrew actually means to take a lifelong pilgrimage with a constant companion, and doing so carefully and circumspectly. So if I would kind of translate Micah 6:8 to be a little bit more worldly, what does the Lord require? Work for fairness and equality. Live in covenant partnerships with others, free of coercion and manipulation. And take a lifelong pilgrimage with God, full of care and watchfulness. How we connect and relate to others is how we connect and relate to God. Micah 6:8 says that in the economics of God, what is required is a lifestyle. A total outlook on life where our ethical values are aligned with God's kind of economics. We reject the simplistic notions. There's one thing people can do to be right with others and with God. And we are required to live beyond transactions, that shallow definition of requirement. We delight in acts of solidarity that God delights in. We live a lifestyle that understands how we treat each other is how we treat and be in relationship with God. And in the economics of God, we focus on relationships with each other. It's survival of all, so we can thrive together. We stop collecting toys because we're too busy investing in each other. We approach life knowing that people are doing the best they know how to do. And if this doesn't change them, well, this mindset will certainly change us. We are able to think about all those who have come alongside us personally, professionally, and societally to invest in us and lift us up, opening doors. And we are able to become those open doors for those who need to experience more of the face of God along the way. We work so hard to give away what's not even really ours anyway. In February is Black History Month, and there are so many brothers and sisters to remember and to celebrate so many wonderful examples of living out Micah 6:8. What was required of Martin Luther King Jr. by society in his day? What was required was to not make waves. And another way to say that was to not make the white community uncomfortable, to hang your head low, to ride in the back of the bus, to use that water fountain and attend that school and to live in this neighborhood but not that one, accept these low wages, accept denial of a bank loan for no other reason than being Black, and accept that lynching just happened with no penalty of the law for the white man. Lucky for us, Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't concerned about what society required of him. No, he was concerned with what God required of him. Excuse me. He knew that God wanted him to do justice, to love kindly, and to walk humbly with God. He's on the forefront of my mind for his I Have a Dream speech. A speech that worked to articulate God's kingdom and an economic relationship where Black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics are able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty we are free at last. Martin Luther King Jr. called society to live beyond transaction. He tried to help raise our awareness that how we treat each other is how we treat and be in relationship with God. And in some ways, we have made strides. But beloved, we have a long way to go. May Black History Month be for us a time of meditation, a time of personal examination of how we can continue to walk with the verse Micah 6:8, how to live it out in new ways we have never even dreamed before. That this whole month could be a wonderful way of really expanding how we think about justice, kindness, and walking humbly with God. For it is clear that justice does not seem to be our default, and humility is not really our second nature. We spend our days trying to understand what is required of us. Much of it spent sprinting through school, spinning our reputation, digging into work, running errands, harvesting financial investments, and puzzling over tax codes. Preaching to myself too. And amidst such heavy requirements, people often fail by the wayside, a road bump to be avoided at all costs. And God can become seen that way too, going to church, spending time with God, serving our community, just one more requirement. The world's economy wants to keep us so busy that we forget about God's economy, an economy of relationships built on justice, kindness, and walking humbly with God. So come, beloved family, let us embrace a lifestyle of God's economy. Let us do what is truly required of us. To do justice, working towards fairness and equality, to love kindness, to live in covenant partnerships with others, free of coercion or manipulation. And let us walk humbly with our God, to take a lifelong pilgrimage with God full of care and watchfulness.